Welcome everyone on behalf of Pittsburg State University and the Pittsburg State University Alumni Association. Incredibly excited to see you this afternoon. As I mentioned, we'd much rather see you in person, but we are just incredibly thankful to have so many of you online with us today for this virtual half-century reunion. And won't have quite all the pomp and circumstance that we would typically be able to have in person, but the staff here in the Alumni and Constituent Relations Office has worked very hard over the last several months. We've been planning this for months, and we are just so glad that the day is finally here and we can properly recognize all of you. So excited to have some special guests with us this afternoon. Kathleen Flannery, who many of you met yesterday evening, is our Vice President for University Advancement. She's also the President and CEO of the PSU Foundation, and she oversees all University Advancement, which is the division that I'm in. So Kathleen, thank you for being on today.
Thank you for allowing me to join this incredible group of people. I'm hoping that you're going to continue to enjoy each other, reconnecting and meeting new friends, and congratulations again.
Thanks for all your support, Kathleen. And so, you know, as you well know, we were forced to cancel the class of 1970 reunion last year because of the COVID pandemic. And we knew that was a big class. We knew there were lots of really wonderful people in it. I have to admit, on a personal note, I was disappointed because both of my parents on this call, Terry Bartlow and Janice Susnick Bartlow, are from the class of 1970. So glad that they're on today, though. And so we decided, we've been talking for months, and we decided we just didn't feel that it was safe to bring a group of people back on campus at this time. And really, when we had to start planning this months ago, we didn't really know how the spring was going to look. So we decided to go the virtual route, and many of you have been able to participate in the different sessions that we've put together over the last 24 hours. Barbara, as you mentioned, we put together a virtual campus tour. Touring the campus is a big part of what we like to do when we bring you back. And we're just so thrilled with all of the amazing spaces and buildings. So much has gone on the campus during Dr. Scott's presidency. And for those of you who haven't been back on campus, even for 5 or 6 years, you would see many different changes. So we did our best to put those in the virtual campus tour, and that link came out to everyone this morning. So we certainly hope you'll take a little bit of time to check that out, as well as the other links that we sent. Danielle Driscoll, who is our assistant director, she's on this call. She put together what I think I smiled the whole time were some really neat pictures of Pittsburgh then and Pittsburgh now to kind of show everyone how the downtown has changed and some of those hot spots that I've heard many of you talk about from your time here in the late 1960s and early 1970s. So we hope you'll check all those out as well. So we have individuals from our 50-year classes, 1970 and 71, on this call today. We also have individuals who are celebrating 55 years. And because we weren't able to do this last year, we had the class of 65 and 66 members from those classes on. And we even have some individuals who are celebrating 60 years from the classes of 1960 and 1961 on this call. So excited to have all of you here. I'm very excited to have our president, who is just like us, a Pitt State gorilla, has a degree from Pittsburg State University and has served this institution for over 33 years, if my calculations are right. So he is going to give us some updates about so many things that have gone on campus over the last year, and looking forward a little bit as well. So everyone, it's my pleasure to introduce the president of Pittsburg State University, Dr. Steve Scott.
Thank you, John. George, no reason to stand up, really, just stay seated. It's fun to be with this group, I'm telling you. As John mentioned, I think you all know this, I'm a Pittsburg State graduate. I'm a 1973 Pittsburg State University graduate. So that means I'm not far behind you in the half-century effort here. So, John, I think this group continues to look younger and younger. That's what I'm seeing. So I think that's something to keep in mind there. So what a 50 years it's been. So you know, we've all gotten used to this Zoom connectivity and with the grandkids and with our work and with our volunteer work. And, you know, John, I bet about a year ago, we did an alumni event with the Erie St. Paul area. And so we got Jim and Lois Carlson. I know that, Lois. Jim and Lois Carlson up there, and they were going to jump on the call. And I thought, I wonder how savvy they are with that technology. Well, here's what happened. Remember this, John?
Yes.
I think Lois said they had like 4 Zoom calls during the day, and we had an evening event. And then when we had the event, they had 2 going on at the same time. Jim was in one room and Lois was in the other room in 2 different Zoom calls. So it's like, boy, we have all just upped our technology skills. It's pretty cool, really. So Jim and Lois, good to see you again. That was kind of a fun thing to think back to a year ago that was going on. So this morning I was on a Zoom call for 2 hours and I did stay awake, but it was somewhat painful. But in the middle of the call, someone who didn't mute their microphone took a phone call. I thought that was interesting. So yes, there's been cats and dogs and police sirens and all kinds of things in these events, and they've been interesting. But fortunately, they allow us to be connected in a way that we couldn't otherwise be connected. So before I start, I want to just do a shout out to Peggy Shiverty. And there's a point to this. She taught my son Phil in special education at the high school. And Peggy, he is doing great. He's living on his own. He's 20 plus years at Walmart. And the last 3 months, he's been through a dog bite, gallbladder operation, and a skin cancer removal. And he's still going strong. So I knew you'd want to know that. He's just a great young man. We taught him to drive 2 years ago. And this summer, I'm going to teach him how to mow his own yard. So I know many of you know Phil well, and he's just a tremendous ambassador for Pittsburg State University. And so many things we do in life go back to the teachers we had and the people who cared about us on an individual basis. So shout out to Peggy, and I hope you all will allow me to make that comment, because I believe teachers are pretty special people, and they touch the future. So you think about this being the 50th anniversary of the 1971 class. Well, my mother graduated in 1941. So this spring would have been 80 years ago that my mom graduated from Pittsburg State University. So to say I've got some roots in this place, it's pretty clear. I've got some roots in this place. So John mentioned I came here in 88. So I've been here, I'm wrapping up 33 years at Pittsburg State University. And believe it or not, 12 years as president. And it's been quite a ride and an enjoyable experience. And we just have a great team of people here at Pittsburg State that have made some really special things happen. And you think about I'm going to mention some names, and I bet you know some of these names, but I started thinking about back to some of the teachers and faculty I had while I was here, and there would be names that you would know. I had Joe Murphy. He taught me a swim class. I had Al Ortolani. He taught me how to tape an ankle, and I would tape Kathy's ankle on the evenings and the weekends. And I used to tease her. I'd say, I sure wish you'd shave your ankles. It'd be a lot easier for me to do the tape and get the tape off. And we would all laugh about that. We had a great time with that. Her ankles were a little thinner than the ankles that I had to tape in the class for a grade. But great experience with Al Ortolani. What a great person he was. Dave Syndrome coached track, and I had a class from him. Bill Allen taught geography. He was quite a character and a great teacher. And of course, I went through the math department, so I had Felix Dreher and Harold Thomas and Don Hyde, and J. Brian Sperry and Forrest Coulthard, Helen Kriegsman. What a wonderful person she was, and she led the math department, all a bunch of guys, and she just ramrodded that thing and made them sit up and take notes, and just what a great person she was. And then Gary McGrath also. So just some great names. And I know as you think back to Pitt State, we're going to talk about buildings, and John did the virtual tour, which I hope you'll tune into that. But really, it is about the people. It's about the people whose lives who've helped us along the way, the connections we've made, and the connections that exist to this day. Last Saturday, I spoke to a group of sorority women in an international reunion day, and had a great time with them. And boy, the sisterhood is very strong. As you all know, some of you were fraternity brothers when you were here, and that fraternity connection, sorority connections, those are so strong. And it also means those connections to Pittsburg State University are strong as well. So some really, really good feelings I hope that you have, even in this virtual connection to Pittsburg State University, to John, to me, to Kathleen, to the great team we have that really supports the work that we do here at Pittsburg State. So since I was going to talk to you today, I thought I'm just going to walk the campus a little bit, John. I didn't watch the virtual tour. I will watch that because I heard it was great. But I just thought I'd just walk through as many buildings as I could today. So I was in 7, 8, 9 different buildings, just walking through the halls and kind of looking at the buildings from your perspective. If you were on the campus today and you had a chance to walk around, you'd probably walk by a classroom where you had a class. You might walk by an office where your advisor was. I bet if you in music, you walked through McRae Hall and you stepped into that recital hall and you thought about performing on that stage. And so I just basically did a tour of the campus and stopped, of course, and visited with different people. And in the math department, Yates Hall, remember Yates Hall? I stopped in there and there was a tutor working in a room that I worked in because I was a tutor here, and made $1.25 an hour. And I felt like that was pretty cool. And I'd help students work their calc problems and trig problems and all of those kinds of things. And I met a young woman named Riley Dennis. And she's from over in Northwest Missouri. I guess she could have gone to be a Bearcat, but she decided to become a gorilla because her father was. But she's a senior in math and going to graduate in December. And she's going to be a professor. So you just think about my mom being here, me being here, preparing somebody to be a teacher, to be a professor, to be here. And you're just talking about decades of influence and decades of connections to this place. And that's a great joy that I have. And I think the Pitt State folks online would say the same thing. John and I get to interact with college students right now who are just aspiring to do all kinds of neat things. And then on a given day, we get to meet with people who had a tremendous experience here 50 years ago. And they want to know what's going on and what's happening on the campus. It's pretty special to be able to have that view and to really bridge the gap from a Al Orlani to a student who may well come back here in 5 years and be a professor at Pitt State and have a 30-year career. Just think about the length of that time in terms of the length of the time that Pittsburg State University has even existed. It's just really good stuff. So if you haven't been back in 50 years, the place has changed a little bit, and I don't think that's the case. Many of you are here on a regular basis, and even those of you who are away get to come through here periodically. But there's been a lot of development over the last 10 years in particular, and we just had amazing support. If you haven't seen, when you do get to campus, the thing you've got to see first, I think, is the Bicknell Center. It's just a premier facility, as good as any facility in the country for the arts. And we've had some premier facilities for athletics. And what a treat it was to have the kind of support across this community and across our donor base to build the Bicknell Center. And you've heard we've had Broadway shows there. We've had Mitt Romney has been there, and Laura Bush has been there. Soledad O'Brien, Condoleezza Rice, a guy named Bill Clinton stopped in one afternoon and gave a speech. Some really special things are happening besides all the music performance and the SEK Symphony, and they're performing in a world-class facility. And there may not be a more important addition to this campus than the Bicknell Center. I mean, that has been something that's transformative for the community and for the campus. This fall, we've kind of leaked out periodically that we're going to have Peyton Manning as the next speaker. And that'll be a kick to hear from Peyton Manning and sit on the stage with him. And we'll have ticket information on that at some point, pending a pandemic, right? And what the pandemic will do for us and to us. Also, the Plaster Center. It's a 300-meter indoor track that we've added a number of years ago. And it's hard to believe it. I think this will be the 6th year of operation of that building. So that thing has really done well for us. We won a national indoor track and field meet. Our men did in that building. Our women had won the previous year away from here. So just some great talent that's able to use that and also serve as an economic engine for Pittsburgh and the region. So I also wanted to mention downtown. I think John alluded to this, and I know when alums come back, they want to go to the Mall Deli. They want to go to the Tower. Oh, it's not here anymore. or Friendlies. Is there a place called Friendlies? I think there was. You know, many of those places aren't here anymore, but the Mall Deli is, and boy, is it popular. It really is. And so we've had new additions to the campus and to the community. And downtown is a pretty special place now with Block 22 opening. We have 100 students living down there in the upper floors. And some of you on this call I know have been to see that. We also opened a coffee shop there and a really, really nice restaurant that I eat in about 3 times a week, actually, just taking lots of guests there and having great lunches. And if you're in town, let me know. We'll go down and have lunch at Block 22. So that's worth seeing as well. So you might swing by the campus, park your car, walk the campus if you're here, but you ought to go downtown and look at the Pitt State presence downtown. So I want to talk just a minute about some of the things that are coming, because there was a time where we built the Bicknell Center, the Plaster Center, and we did a $14 million expansion of the Student Center. It's just really a nice project and considerable amount of construction in a fairly short period of time. Well, we're headed back into that. We're very optimistic that we're going to get the business building underway in the short term. That'll probably be about a $20 million project to basically gut and rebuild the business building. And of course, that's Kels. Anybody in here go to College High? Did anybody go to College High? Yeah. So that was a high school, and it looks like a high school. But when we get finished with the $20 million renovation, it will look like a modern business building. We're really excited about that project. We're going to bid that here in a few weeks, and we'll probably have a little bit of gap, a little bit of money to raise, but we're optimistic we can close that gap and get that project underway. So that is very, very exciting. We also are going to expand our nursing building, and our nursing program is just it's just a premier program across the country. Their pass rates always run 5 to 7% above the national averages. Our retention rates are virtually 100%, meaning if you get admitted, you complete the program. And it's a very important statement about how our faculty wrap their arms around these students and help them get through the program. Now, you can't just pass everybody along because you have to pass the exam. So they do a great job of moving the students through the curriculum and also preparing them for the exams. And you can imagine our nursing graduates are going to work in a hurry, and they're also getting signing bonuses. It's quite a deal. So we're going to spend about $6 million to rebuild the inside of that building and establish a simulation hospital. So you'll walk into that building and there will be an area of it that basically looks like a hospital. And within each room of the simulation hospital area, you'll see a simulator, which in essence is like a robot, but they're very lifelike and they have all kinds of vital signs and they can cause issues with them, and then the students have to respond to it. So it's basically a way to substitute some of the in-person clinical experiences for an experience where we use the technology. Several years ago, we spent about $500,000 rebuilding the lecture hall in the nursing building, and that's been a really nice addition. And so this is really going to complete that. And so $6 million project, it's all private money from 3 donors. 3 donors stepped forward and made that happen. So really excited about that. So we have the architectural firm, the design is nearly complete. We have the contractor selected. We're going to use McCown Gordon out of Kansas City. And we're excited about having them on our campus for the first time. And we expect to turn some dirt this fall. And I think Kathleen and her team would be planning on a groundbreaking. We haven't done a groundbreaking for a while, so we're excited about doing a groundbreaking and also scheduling a ribbon cutting about 14 months later, because they're anticipating nursing will be back underway in that building in August of 22. Oh, that's going to be tight. Some of you like a little football. You like to be at Carney Smith Stadium. And Carney Smith Stadium, we would argue, is one of the best stadiums in the country. It has 26 skyboxes. It's really unusual for Division II. My skybox is now on the west side. Before it was on the east side. So this last year I moved over to the other side, and excited about football. We're excited about doing some work on Carney Smith Stadium to really bring it up to date. So we're going to spend considerable money this summer doing some upgrades on Carney Smith. You notice I mentioned the academic buildings first, and then I mentioned athletics. There's a reason for that. That's how I've been able to stay president for 12 years. So it's important that we move the whole thing forward. So we want our academic programs and buildings to improve. but we also have people who really want to support our athletic facilities and have them be what I would say is the best in the country. So we're going to do quite a bit of work this summer on Kearney Smith Stadium that you'll see. We have new turf there from Freeman Health Systems in Joplin. They're great partners of ours. We have a new Jungletron that's just a couple years old from Bob Lepke from Pro Maxima, a graduate in the 60s who played for Kearney Smith. And we reconnected with Bob Lepke, and he provided all the weightlifting equipment and the Jungletron. So what an amazing number of supporters we have that allow us to do these things. And then if you are going to be here, John, this is a fun thing to do, isn't it? Where when in normal years, a non-pandemic year, the people who are back for the Half Century Club get to go through commencement. And it is a fun thing. So you robe up and you get to go in and kind of lead the way. You sit on the front row and I call attention to you, ask you to stand. People give you a round of applause. And so you've got these brand new graduates looking at folks that 50 years ago had a great experience at Pitt State. It is a nice moment. We can't do that. But I'll tell you one thing we always fight, don't we, John? And that is it's hot in that arena. Some years it's 85 degrees and we're all in robes and it is absolutely miserable. Well, guess what? In May of 22, we will be sitting in air-conditioned space in John Lance Arena. So that is a huge step forward. And we'll have a big video board that will be above the speaker stand that will show all the graduates as they go across the stage and show all the pomp and circumstance and beautiful high definition color. And it's going to be a really nice addition. And we'll be talking about that and letting people know who made that possible. But again, that's one great couple that's making that happen. And that could be, depending on the contingencies, that could be as much as a $1.9 million project. So that is a big, big deal. So really, and Dr. Bryant used to say this, we've got construction going on. We've got the orange cones. We've got the yellow construction tape. We're going to take them down. And then what are we going to do? We're going to put more up. And that you have to do that to stay up, to stay current. And besides all the work we do to update, the equipment in the rooms and the buildings and the HVAC and all those other things, which we continue to make progress on. But boy, those big signature projects demonstrate the kind of momentum we have and certainly demonstrates the level of support we had. So I wanted to mention that. So because sometimes you come back and say, well, this is neat, what's happened. Well, what's going to happen? Some really good things. And we're going to take another step up facility-wise. I just mentioned a couple of things about enrollment because usually when I meet with alums, they ask me a couple of questions. One is, how's enrollment? And the other is, the other question I always get, how's the football team? I swear those are the two questions I always get. And Casey, it's not just from you. It's like, and maybe Casey says the other way. It's how's the football team going? And then what about enrollment? So enrollment this last fall was down about 3.7%. Across the nation, it was down considerably more than that. The community colleges in the area were down about 11.9% on average. It is a very, very tough environment because of the pandemic on the enrollment side. It's interesting how if you're selling, like if you're Home Depot right now, it's great. Business is great. The automobile industry right now, from what I understand, business is great. But higher education right now across the country is pretty stressed because of enrollment declines. As students said, I don't necessarily want to learn this way. I don't want to sit in my folks' basement and learn online all day long. And that's really hit higher ed pretty hard. Our enrollment in the spring was down about the same, a little under 4%. Across the nation, the overall percent drop in the spring was almost 6%. So we're still beating that number. And interestingly, our graduate enrollment is up, but our undergraduate enrollment is where we're getting hurt. So when enrollment goes down, that means our revenues are down. State of Kansas has really good news on the revenue side. There's going to be a lot of federal dollars flowing to the state, and the state of Kansas has decided they're going to cut our budget. It's like, seriously, that's what we're faced with right now. So right now we're looking at about a $700,000 budget cut from the state of Kansas, even though the revenue picture has brightened considerably. And even though there'll be over $1 billion worth of stimulus money provided to the legislature. So the session's not done. We've got a couple more weeks, but we're pretty nervous about receiving a cut. And I couldn't be prouder of the way the faculty and the staff and the students have responded to the virus. And we've managed our spending. We really we're going to come in under budget in terms of what we spend this year. So it feels a little bit like a punch in the gut when the governor recommended basically a 5% cut in our budget after all that effort. So that's been painful. And I was on a call this morning where they talked about K-12 is going to get another $250 million in funding. And that's because of the courts. The Kansas Supreme Court has directed that to happen, but higher ed is not included in that. So, we're pretty old fashioned. We're not going to spend more money than we take in. And if that's what we face, we're going to figure it out and we'll move forward. But boy, I'll tell you what, if the legislature and the governor loved us like our donors do, we'd be in a lot better shape. So it's just a fact. So I just wanted to mention that. So back to football. The other question I'm getting now, besides how's the football team, is do we have to wear masks? Right? That's the question everybody's asking. And the CDC came out and said, you don't have to wear masks when you're outdoor exercising. Well, I kind of said, oops, because I've been outdoor exercising a lot. And I really hadn't been wearing a mask because I didn't feel like there's much risk to that. But we've had great compliance on the campus with our mask policy, but we're going to have to continue to adjust that as more and more of us are vaccinated. And so our goal in the fall would be as normal as possible. Our goal in the fall would be that we could fill the stadium. We'll have to follow the policies that are out there and the mandates that are out there. But boy, I sure hope that we can show up and cheer on the Gorillas and not have to cheer through a mask. That's the hope. And that's our target, and that's what we're trying to get done. We've vaccinated probably 1,000 or so altogether, students, faculty, staff on the campus, and that's been a good effort. We've also gave everybody a T-shirt for getting vaccinated. It's kind of a play on Gorilla Nation. Instead of Gorilla Nation, it's vaccination, and so it's kind of a clever shirt, and the kids have enjoyed getting those, and so. I'm sure John could probably get you a shirt or two. I just took some to some folks this week. My understanding is we have a lot of shirts. And we'll make you a deal on them, like free. So anyway, good stuff, good effort, and could not be more excited about getting this semester wrapped up, going through 8 commencement ceremonies, 4 tomorrow afternoon and evening, and 4 on Saturday. And I'll be pumped for every one of them because it's just an awesome experience, and it's so fun to do. So with that, John, I think I'll just say congratulations to this great group, and thank you so much for being a part of Pittsburg State and staying connected to us. Awfully good things happening, even in the midst of a challenging year. And I'll finish with this story. I had lunch with Jim Dawson, just a great friend of ours over in Webb City recently. And we had just a really good conversation. I'm just talking. I can't remember when I ate actually about Pitt State. And at the end of the lunch, he said, "I didn't think you would be like this." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "It's, the pandemic." He said, "I thought you'd be kind of down and not have much to report." I don't know. What else are you going to do? Kathy says, "I can't stay home in the basement." Because if I stay home in the basement and I don't go to work, what happens? I don't get to live in the Crossland house. So I would have to move. So pretty old fashioned. We just figure it out and move it forward. And we've been very fortunate to do that. So John, thanks for inviting me to be a part of this. Congratulations, everybody. And be glad to stand for a few questions if you have time.
Absolutely. We probably have we have as much time as you're willing to allow us, Dr. Scott, but I know you've got a commencement practice to get to as well. So any questions for Dr. Scott?
Wow, that's good.
Not even Casey?
He sends his to me personally.
Alan Carlson here. You mentioned enrollment was down. So what are the enrollment figures, undergraduate, as they stand today?
Yeah, right now, I think our numbers in the fall, that's kind of that's the number we cite most often. We've been about 6,400, 6,300 would be the head count total. And probably less than 1,000 of those would be graduate.
Okay.
Yeah. And that would be different from what you all would have experienced when you were on campus. I don't really remember what the enrollment was when I was here in 1970 to 74.
Well, I'm going to say around 1971, my senior year, it was like 54, 5,500, I think is what it was. Something like that. And it had slight dip there too. And there was some concern about moving forward.
Sure. We're like all other businesses. We're working hard to make it work. And so enrollments do go up and down.
That's right.
But the pandemic's been pretty hard on us.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Scott, how many universities in the state of Kansas actually held a commencement ceremony last semester?
Well, John, I'm glad you asked that. We love to be the only. I'm so competitive. We love to be the first. So there's only one institution across the state that offered a commencement ceremony in the fall. And that was Pittsburg State. And it was a walkthrough. They set up in the Plaster Center in the big indoor track, and they walked up on the stage and got their diploma. And I think the title of my memoirs will be "Don't Mess with Commencement," because I'm telling you what, because I think about the college experience as the 4 years, or for some people, the 5 years, or the 6-year plan. It's the whole experience. But for our graduates, it's that moment. It is walking across that stage and having your family there and receiving that diploma. And we have learned that, and we've gone to school on that. So that's, and same thing's true about football, John. Only 11 teams across the country played football last fall in Division II out of 160 some teams. So that was kind of cool that we led that effort. So we like to be ahead. Good question. So
other questions?
And I do need to run over to commencement practice. There's not any more. All right.
Well, Dr. Scott, thanks for your time. We appreciate you being here. We know, especially this time of year, you're running in about 15 different directions. So I know I speak for everyone because they're muted, that they're glad that you're here.
You're a powerful person. You've got the mute button. All right. Hey, thank you all. Great to see you. Look forward to seeing you in person.
Thanks, Dr. Scott.
Thanks.
Appreciate
Bye-bye.
it. So, I want to mention a couple of different things. We were talking about commencement ceremonies, and those of you who were part of the 50-year class, either last year or this year, so the classes of 1970 and 71, we have worked your names into the commencement script for tomorrow afternoon. So I am lucky enough to be the announcer for the commencement ceremonies tomorrow. And so at the 3:30 Central Time ceremony, at the end of that ceremony, I will be reading the names of those individuals from the class of 1970 and 1971 who are participating virtually in this half-century reunion. So that's something that we will be excited to do. And I also want to mention that, just because you are participating in this virtually this year does not mean that you will not be invited back to participate in this in person next year. And, we worked hard on the virtual tour. We've worked hard on all of these different sessions throughout the last 24 hours, but it's not the same as being here in person. And my staff and I, and really the entire university, Dr. Scott, Kathleen, we really pride ourselves on the experience that we're able to give our half-century reunion attendees when they come back on campus. We really say we roll out the red carpet. And there are a few folks on this call who have been to our in-person ceremonies over the years. And, when it's not a pandemic, we have brunch at the Crossland University House with the president and his wife. We have personal tours of campus. As Dr. Scott mentioned, there's an opportunity to march in the commencement ceremonies. We have a beautiful luncheon in the Crimson and Gold Ballroom where typically I would be reading your names and we would be placing that medallion over your head. But today we're going to have to settle for you placing the medallion over your own head, as most of you have already done. And I thought Dr. Scott had put together a little rah-rah cheer or something for each of you, but I forgot he had commencement ceremony, so I guess he's off the hook on that. But you'll have to just reach around and pat yourself on the back. We would love to be with you in person to shake your hand, but as I said, this is the best that we can do right now. But next year, all of you from the class of 1970, the class of 1971, as well as the class of 1972 will be invited back to campus in person. And I actually wrote our registrar just a few minutes ago asking her what the dates were for spring graduation next year. So she said, as of right now, we're looking at the 13th and 14th of May. So if coming back to campus is something that you're interested in, you might pencil in May 13th and May 14th, 2022, because if those dates hold for commencement, that is when we will do our half-century reunion next year. And the kickoff night, we had a virtual kickoff last night, but typically when we do that in person, we have live music, we have cocktails, we have a wonderful dinner, we have dancing and lots of visiting. So we'll do that again next year. Fingers crossed. So what I would like to do at this point is I would like to read the names of the individuals from our two 50-year classes, from the class of 1970 and the class of 1971, to recognize these individuals as becoming members of the Half Century Club. And then after that, we'll recognize some of our alumni who are on this call from the 55 and 60-year classes as well. So here we go. You can applaud on screen if you would like to. So first off, Melvin Augustine. This is the class of 1970. Melvin Augustine, congratulations. Leanna Gowans Baker. Now these next two, I quite literally would not be here with you today if it wasn't for them. Janice Susnick Bartlow and Terry Bartlow. My parents, glad you both are here. Sue Carter. Vincent Shirafasi. Kathy Davis Dubois. Paul Gillum. Tom Glinstra. Edward Gomez Jr. Terry Hirschberger. Marty Eisen. Mary Lou Gathaman Knox. Robert Kunschek. Joe Martin. Floyd May. Mike McCready. Miles Schneer. Dale Schneider. Loretta Ferrara Scott. Peggy Coleman Chaverty. Trudy Goodall Sims. Joe Oakleaf Slaughter. Ireline Swain. Peter Thomas. And Dolores Wren Wishart. Those are our folks from the class of 1970, so big congrats to you. I'll tell you what, folks, it's a weird experience when you're reading names to a completely silent group. It's something completely new this year. All right, our class of 1971. Vaughn Allen. Arlo Amstutz. Alan Carlson. Brad Carter. Anita Ray Delatorre. Michael Villatore, Randy Deem, Murray Franz, Connie Brown May, Virginia Lorden Pellman, Debbie Post Potter, Eldon Prawl, Tom Restivo, Catherine Munkin Richard, Carol Baldwin Stevens. Congratulations to our inductees to the Half Century Club at Pittsburg State. So excited for you all. This is something that's really special to us here in the here at the Alumni Center and at Pittsburg State. And like I said, we certainly hope to see you back on campus in person. So I want to acknowledge our friends who are here for their 55th anniversary. So 1965, we have Jim Carlson. Congratulations, Jim. We have Catherine Bradshaw Chapelier, Clint Frederick, Tom Hankins, Jerry Heidenberg, George Lampy, and Larry Mathis. Congratulations to our 1965 graduates. 1966, Mr. Casey Casebolt. Congratulations, Casey. Glad you're here with us today. And then our friends who are celebrating 60 years. 60 years, actually 61 years for our 1960 folks. Virginia Kirkendall Fortner, Barbara Rondelli Perry, Bill Sims, and Leon Smith from the class of 1960. And from the class of 1961, we have Lou Baum, James Clopton, Chloeva Johnson Idle, and Barbara Wilhoit Sims. So congratulations to our friends from the class of 1961. Anybody from the class of 1999 on? Anybody? No? Someday I'll be there. So I want to remind all of you that you've been sent a link to the commencement ceremonies that are going on. And as I mentioned, those of you in the 50-year classes, 1970 and 1971, I'll be reading your names at commencement tomorrow at 3:30 Central Time. So we hope you'll tune in for that. And our commencement ceremonies are great. I think the university does a great job. Keep in mind, this is a little bit different than the commencement ceremonies that we had pre-COVID, but I'm so proud of the way that Pittsburg State University has moved forward in a different format. Very successful last semester. So that's tomorrow at 3:30. Stephanie Sweezy in our office sent out an email this morning with the link to the virtual campus tour, as well as Pittsburgh Then and Now, and some other links that we think you will be interested in. So we want to remind you to check that. We will be putting together a virtual scrapbook, a virtual memory book for those of you celebrating classes of 1970 and 1971. So I know we've sent out some emails asking for you to submit pictures and memories and information about yourself. We'll be doing some follow-up with that, so keep your eyes open for that. And I think our office does a really great job of putting that together, and we'll be excited to share that with you a little bit later in the summer when it's all done and put together. And then the other thing that I want to mention as well, we were just so tickled with the conversation and the connections that folks were making yesterday evening at our initial kickoff. And so one of the things that we'll be asking you in the email that comes out is if you would be interested in sharing any of your contact information, so maybe your email address, up to you on a phone number, but certainly email address, if you would be interested in sharing that with other people who attended this reunion. So we'll ask you that question, and if that's something that you're comfortable with, let us know. And if you're not, that's completely fine as well. But I have a suspicion that some of you would like to stay connected down the road. And then you can all plan to come back in person together next year. How's that sound? So with that being said, I do want to give a special shout out. I can't see everyone because there's so many people on the screen, but to two individuals who work in my office. Danielle Driscoll is our assistant director in this office, and Stephanie Sweezy is our alumni coordinator. We've got a pretty small office. There are just 3 of us full-time here, and these two individuals do the work of at least 4, maybe 5 some days. But no, they're amazing colleagues to work with. They do a tremendous job, and you know, I get to be kind of the face of the organization, but you've got to know that there are so many things happening behind the scenes, and we could not operate at the level of success that we do without Danielle and Stephanie. So special thanks to them. They both have a 4-year anniversary in this office coming up pretty soon, so we're excited about that. And they're both Pitt State grads, just like everybody on this call. So thanks to Danielle and Stephanie. We've got some of our colleagues from the Office of University Development on. There's such a great crew of people to work with. Very appreciative. I see Becky McDaniel and I see Mary Jo Meyer. Thank you to you both and the rest of you in development for all your support and all that you do for our office and for the university. And then once again, to Kathleen Flannery, who's our vice president. Kathleen is a great support to everything we do in alumni relations. So thank you to Kathleen as well. Any questions for me before we kind of wrap things up here?
No, I think you all did a very good job in putting these presentations together. Much better than I was expected. You overwhelmed.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that. This is this is all new to us, and we did the best we could, and it seems like it's been well received, and that makes us happy. That makes us very happy.
Thanks to you, John and Stephanie and Danielle, for all the work you do. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it.
Hey, John.
Sure.
Hi, John.
Hi, Casey.
Just a note about the legacy license plate. I'm proud to say I have a great niece coming to Pittsburgh next year on the Legacy License Plate Scholarship Program. Brecca Peters from me.
That's great. Thanks for mentioning that, Casey.
John,
Yes.
the link you were talking about to the commencement, there will be a link to the one on Saturday morning. Is that correct?
I believe the link that we sent out, which is pittstate.tv, I believe that will work for all of the various commencement ceremonies. And as Dr. Scott mentioned, there are 8 of them. And so if you need some more information about which one is at what particular time, Jim, just let us know and we can send you the links, because, you know, even some of the large colleges like arts and sciences, I think it's broken up into 2 separate ceremonies. So that link should work for all of them. But if you have a question about which one is at what time, let us know and we'll find out for you. Okay.
Hey, John, it does say that it's good for all of them.
Okay, great.
Good.
We have a granddaughter getting her master's, and so we cannot be
wonderful.
there in person, so we want to be able to watch her.
Absolutely. I'm glad you asked.
And we're at a state convention during the ceremony, so the link is important.
I understand. I understand. Any other questions?
Well, I've got another one here.
Graduated in 1933.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Who did?
My aunt, she was a 2nd grade teacher in Chanute for 32 years.
My goodness.
Mr. Carlson, I think did you have a question though?
You know, I hate all this trivia, but you run into people. Is Barbara Rondelli Perry still on? I still see her. I've got a question and so on. Did you grow up and your parents grow up southwest of Pittsburgh in Chicopee?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Very proud of it too.
that's right. The name Rondelli and so on. Your father's name was Joe, right?
That's correct. How do you know him?
Well, he was principal at the Crawford County Community High School in Cherokee, right,
Yeah.
Jim?
I went there too.
He went there. Then he
Yes.
moved southeast, and I
Yeah.
had him in math and physics and science there.
Well,
66 and 67 and so on there.
sure. Well,
And here's another detail my brother knows. Your dad, when he first started teaching in the 1920s, I think, he taught our mother in the little mining camp of Fleming.
yes, I know where that was.
There was, yeah. School, and he taught her, and he was the new teacher at the time. So, it's interesting. All these things come out, and so of course that school's not there anymore. But
Yes, well, I'm very glad to meet you. What is your name, sir?
Alan Carlson.
Alan Carlson. All right. Very glad to meet you and glad to hear you knew my father.
Yeah, that's right. But the name Barbara Rondell, that struck a bell with me. So.
Barbara, this
Yes.
is Barbara, Jim
Yes.
Carlson.
Okay. All right.
And
Yeah.
your dad was principal at Cherokee High School when I was there.
Yes. Yes. Golly. Well, I went from 52 to 56 to the high school in Cherokee, and that's no longer there either.
Yeah.
No.
Sorry about you. That was a beautiful building.
And their dad was John Carlson. John and
Okay, John
Rosalie,
Carlson.
north of town.
All right. Glad to
John
meet you here now.
John, can you hear me?
Yes.
He said yes.
Yes.
Mom, I just wanted to say thank you so much for all the work you do in the alumni office, and how proud we are of you. And we're so happy we got to see and visit with so many good friends today. Thank you, buddy.
You bet, Dad. Appreciate it. Love you both.
A little plug never hurts.
Well deserved plug.
Well deserved, yeah.
Well,
Good job, Don.
I'd like to mention something about the College High School. I saw some great players play in that building. And it was probably the most memorable were Butch Endicott, who was a big kid with a big belly that was just tough as nails, and Larry Ward, who would have probably been, he would have been a 40-pointer game shooter if it had been a 3-point system, because he was shooting like from outside like 2-pointers, like he was making 24 points a game. And average, they were great players. And that's hard to say coming from Frontenac, but they were great players. We had Bernie O'Neill too. But those were great players, and College High is really a big memory for me. So I thought I'd bring those guys up.
My mother, Carmel Myra O'Malley, graduated from College High School in 1927.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Did College High ever beat Frontenac in football?
No, they didn't. No.
Lois,
Yes.
this is Casey Casebolt.
Yes.
Are you the same Lois that writes for the Tribune?
Yes, I am.
I read you all the time.
Well, thank you.
Dude, look at all these connections you all are making. Think how much better it's going to be next year in person.
John,
This is
John,
great. Yes,
please say hello to Mary Jo Meyer for me, please.
I will. And she's on the call still, but I have the pleasure of working with her. So I will definitely tell her that. We're lucky to have her, aren't we?
Yes, I didn't know she was still on the call. Yeah.
Thank you, Barbara.
Wait a minute, you're muted right now.
Okay.
I might just thank Barbara for hosting the voice competition on our campus every year. She's very humble, but a very accomplished opera singer, and we're very grateful for the way she hosts that competition. So thank you, Barbara.
Thank you, Mary Jo.
Thank Larry Mathis for the book that he's written. So many people in our area here are enjoying it. So Larry has a wealth of experience in the healthcare industry, and it's just a blessing to get to know these wonderful alums. I appreciate the opportunity.
Mary Jo, thank you. That's wonderful. And I owe you a response on your solicitations. and I will get to it. So
We'll be in touch. Thank you again, Larry.
I want to make a quick comment. We have our friend Miles Schneer on the call, and I want to give a shout out to Miles because our office has a beautiful Toyota RAV4 that is red and yellow, and it looks more Pitt State than any car you could ever see. And that's thanks to the generosity of Miles and Crown Auto and Lawrence. And so when Danielle and I go out on the road and we're visiting literally thousands of alumni across the country, we're driving in this vehicle that is promoting the university that we love, thanks to Miles. So Miles, we appreciate that very much, sir.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it.
You bet. Danielle just put a link on the chat so you can look at this. You can look at this good-looking vehicle.
It's had a lot of great adventures already, all the way down to Texas and everywhere around Kansas. So,
absolutely.
Yep. I'm sure you get a lot of looks.
Luckily, I don't think we've caused any wrecks yet, but yes, we get many looks, and that's what we like. That's what we like. Friends, we're gonna you can certainly stay on this call and continue to visit. We would actually love for you to do that. I have to run to the same commencement rehearsal that Dr. Scott ran to, so I'm going to jump off the call. And I know Stephanie in our office is going to stay on the call though, and I know that Danielle is on her way down to Rogers, Arkansas, to deliver a SUV full of fried chicken to anxiously awaiting alumni down there. So, but I did want to say once again, thanks so much for taking time out of your schedules to be with us over the last 24 hours or so. If there's anything at all that our office can do to serve you, to answer any questions that you might have, don't hesitate to reach out to us. I know many of you on this call have participated in our virtual alumni gatherings over the course of the last 9 months or so, and we greatly appreciate all the support that you give us. I think all of us who work here at Pitt State know that this place could not be the incredibly special university it is if it wasn't for our alumni support. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. We appreciate it. If there's anything we can do for you, let us know. All right?
Hey, John, practice all those names tonight.
See, this was good practice. This was good practice today. Yeah, unfortunately, many of the names that I'll be reading tomorrow are going to be much more difficult than these today. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to sign off, but you can stay on.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for everything you've done.
Well, folks, like John said, we can stay on as long as you guys want to chat. If you are ready to hop off, you're welcome to do that, but I will keep this open and we can continue to chat. If anybody would like to unmute and talk for a bit, we'd be happy to have you.
Stephanie.
Yes.
Question. So yes. Unfortunately, I don't know a lot of these names, or a lot of the folks that I did know aren't on. But there's a guy named Brad Carter. I did see that he RSVP'd, so he's on that list that you have at your website. How do we reach someone like that? I've lost track of him, and
sure. Yes, that's
here at all.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. We have a place on our website where you can request alumni contact. You would fill out an online form and give us your information, and you would tell us who it is you're wanting to get in touch with. It's just a privacy policy that we don't give out our alumni's contact information. But if you give us your information and tell us who you want to get in touch with, we'll reach out to them and say, you know, so-and-so has contacted us and would like to get in touch with you. If you would like to, you can reach them at this phone number or email address. So that's how we go about connecting our alumni together.
So it's a link there on the website?
Yes, and Marie, I'll just make a note and I'll send you a link to that, okay?
Sure, great, thank you.
Of course.
Is Lois still there?
Yes, I am.
Lois, this is Casey again.
Uh-huh.
A real quick question. A couple of years ago, you wrote the article about Mrs. Hollinshead and the lady in Erie.
Yes,
The
I
incredible
did.
story about the two music teachers.
Uh-huh.
Is the lady in Erie still living? Do you know?
No, she has not. She's been
Oh.
gone a couple of years.
Well, you know, Mrs. Hollinshead and Chanute celebrated her 110th on Thursday.
Oh, my husband and I went over and were in the drive-by.
Did you really?
Oh, yes.
I did send her a card.
You know, I do these bus trips. I've done them since 1964. For anybody on, I do bus trips for our homemakers, and they're open to anyone.
Yeah.
So I got this call one day from a lady from Chanute, and she said, my name is Margaret, and I'm wondering, I'd like some information about your bus trip. And she said, now I'm a little older, but she said, you can ask anybody, I can make the trip. And I said, well, Margaret, how old are you? I think she was about 93 or 4 at the time.
Oh, just a youngster then.
Yes. And so I asked a couple of people, oh yeah, if Margaret says she can go, she can go. And so she made a trip to Washington, D.C. with us.
Yeah.
She made a trip that took us to Mount Rushmore. And when we were approaching Mount Rushmore, I said, Margaret, now have you been to Mount Rushmore before? Oh, yes. The year I graduated college, we came through here. We were a performing group of 8 us girls. And our director of the group brought us through here. And I said, well, I'll bet it's changed a whole lot since then. And she says, well, when we came through, George was the only one up there.
If I remember right, I think they took her keys away from her when she was 103.
Yeah, she told me I would go and visit her at her home.
Oh.
We became good friends. I could give you a tour through her living room and where all the pictures came from and what they meant.
520 South Central.
Anyway, she said, well, I'm going to go ahead and get my driver's license. I think that was about 102. And she said, they told me if I can pass it, I can have my driver's license. And of course, I don't drive at night, so it's just during the day here in town.
Well, it's nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you. Thank you.
I taught driver's ed in Circle, and I had a lady that was 75 years old who was having to learn to drive again. And the last time she drove was in a Model A. And she had to learn to drive because she had to get the medicine for her husband. And I taught her to drive, and I tell you what, she was as good as, everybody called her grandma, but she didn't drive like a grandma. She had a pretty heavy foot. She pushed it down pretty good.
We older people can do that, you know.
Yes, I know. I'm right there now.
My brother-in-law will tell you about me driving.
Yes, I bet.
No, I like to get there in a hurry.
Yeah, I do too.
Stephanie, one more quick question.
Yes.
Is Timmons Chapel still on campus?
It sure is, yes.
It is. Well, good.
Yep.
That's good. My wife and I were married in 1970.
Beautiful.
You know what? I would say just about every year when we have the reunion, we have a couple that are there for the reunion together. And there's usually at least one of them that, you know, they got married in Timmons. And so they like to go by there and it's open. You can go in there. They like to go in and take a picture together and people can still get married in Timmons Chapel. So it's still in use.
Good to hear. Good to hear.
Yeah.
Right. God bless everyone.
This is Casey, so go Gorillas, and once a gorilla, always a gorilla.
Yes, yes.
Yes, for sure. Once a gorilla, always a gorilla.
Yeah. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you everyone for being here. And we hope to see you again sometime soon, even if it's, you know, not until next May. Hopefully you can come back for the reunion. But if you're back for something else, visiting family, anytime, stop by the alumni office. We'd love to see you.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Bye.